Now he can't get enough of the cricket and the Black Caps, with the coach Gary Stead today saying that he'll take his team's World Cup heartbreak to his grave. This morning, as Stead named his squad to tour Sri Lanka next week, he told sports reporter Clay Wilson and our cameraman Nick Monroe he still couldn't get his head around how the final ended or that super over.
There's been all sorts of things going on in my mind. I mean, the key thing is you can't just... It's not just one moment, because if you start thinking it's about one moment, then you neglect the other 600 balls that happen in the game as well. And there's little things that happen over the whole match that it ebbed and flowed. And I mean, just through the T20, the super over as well. I mean, that was an unbelievable little game in itself, where 15 played 15 and two very high scoring in terms of the pressure of the situation as well. But I mean, as I said, I'm extremely proud of the way our guys played and the way we handled ourselves right throughout the tournament. I think there's a lot of people who had written us off, and certainly wasn't from within our own four walls. There was a lot of belief there that we could do the job.
There's been so much talk about the way the title was decided with time to reflect. Do you believe it was a fair way to do it, the right way to do it? I mean, is there a case for having a look at how it was done eventually?
I think it will be looked at. I'm sure it will. But I mean, it's hard because when you sit down at the cricket committee, whoever does it, and says, if it's a tie, how are we going to work this out? Then for one, I don't think people probably expect it to be a tie. It's unusual for that to happen. But then a second tie on a super over being decided by boundaries just seems a bit... Yeah, it's still a bit raw, I guess, as well. I mean, you look at analogies of what that would look like in different sports, and it sort of doesn't make sense necessarily. So that's the hard thing, I guess, to come to terms with. But as I said before, we're not going to change that, and we have to now move forward into what's ahead, and probably the Test series come up's a good time for us to sort of not leave the World Cup behind, because there's a lot of really good things still come from it, but move on to the next challenge.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, what can you draw on from not just the final, but the whole experience of the World Cup? Moving forward, what can you draw on that can be useful for the team?
I think a lot of things. I mean, we stood up when we needed to stand up, and I think that's important right throughout whenever you play. I was really excited about how the team sort of gelled together, and they became... I think a real force in terms of world cricket as well, and it's going to be hard for us to keep flying below the radar with the way that we got ourselves up for a couple of big games there as well. But that's the challenge for these guys, is to... We've learned how to do it as the underdog, I think, but now we've got to do it when people actually probably rate us a little bit more, and that's, I guess, different sets of pressures that come with that.
There's been a lot of talk about Kane as well, not only the way he played, but the way he held himself. Now that you've been on the inside a little bit longer, what have you noticed about working with him, and what's most impressive about the way he goes things, not just on the field, but off the field as well?
A lot of things are impressive about him. I mean, he keeps things pretty level. I mean, he's got an amazing work ethic when it comes to getting himself ready for the game and batting, and so you just know that when you go out, then he's sort of ticked all the boxes. And I think at times he would probably say it never felt really perfect for him out there, but he's found a way to get it done. And I think from a on-field point of view, that's the most impressive thing, is he didn't let an ego take over and think, we have to score 300 here, where we knew 240, 250 might have been enough. And that was one of the strengths that he brought to our whole group as well. And I think off the field, I mean, he's just really respected within our group for the person that he is, and the calmness that he has around our group as well.
That's Black Caps coach Gary Stead talking to our sport reporter Clay Wilson. He's named the team to face Sri Lanka midway through next month, and picked 4 spinners to go along. It's